We have all of our presenters online. I see that we have Mr. Stephen Hightower, who is the founder and president and CEO of Hightowers Petroleum. We also have Maya Cipravelli. Did I pronounce that right? All right, we have Maya, who is the Deputy Commissioner for the Indiana Department of Administration's Division of Supplier Diversity. And we have Omar Casillas, who is the founder and president of Smart Power Technologies here in Indianapolis. For those of you who may not be familiar with me directly, I am the Director of Compliance and Policy Engagement for the Gary Sanitary District here in Gary, Indiana. My primary role and responsibility is to ensure that local, meaning Gary, minority, small, women, and veteran-owned businesses, as well as residents, have access to and are included in construction employment and our contracting opportunities. And so in order to accomplish that, I have to work with several different partners, several different organizations and individuals to ensure that we are being inclusive and diverse and leveling the playing field for those populations that I mentioned. And I can say that Maya and the state's Division of Supplier Diversity has been a longtime partner. Maya herself has been a longtime friend, and I am ever so gracious and appreciative of her outreach and commitment to diversity as a whole, and more specifically to her commitment here in Indiana. And so I'll get a little bit more into detail about her. Omar, I was introduced to him by another one of my colleagues that works in the utility space, who was familiar with Omar and his company, Smart Power Technology. They were very impressed with the way that they work, the quality of their products, their responsiveness. And so my colleague called me up and said, hey, we have a minority business down in Indianapolis, and we want to make sure that we are sharing information about some of our good MBEs. And as we were looking to put this webinar together, we really wanted to highlight minority businesses that offered a product or a service that could be utilized to meet the supply and demand during these COVID-19 pandemic times. There are a lot of emergency contracts being let, and we want to make sure that our diverse businesses do not get excluded from not only those contracts, but also contracting opportunities in general that exist above, beyond, and during this particular time. Stephen Hightower is a gentleman that I met through the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council many, many years ago. He's actually been here to Indiana. We've met together at the Gary Sanitary District, and I'm just super impressed by the longevity of his company, and also in the niche area that he is in. When we are looking to procure fuel, sometimes we look at some of the bigger names, and we don't think that there are minority businesses in this space, but there are. And Hightowers Petroleum is one of those companies that specializes in bulk fuel. And, that can be competitive and offer competitive services and products just like everybody else that we may be purchasing fuel from. But one of the things that has been noted during this time where we're dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic is that there are existing companies that have the capability and the capacity to add on to their products and services. We have a number of companies that have stepped up to the plate that may have been making one product, but because of their operations, they are able to add on an additional product or switch gears to be able to help many of the government agencies and hospitals meet the supply and demand. And so the two companies that we have presenting today have done exactly that. Smart Power Technology, even though they specialize in LED lighting, they have been able to quickly transfer their operations to be able to produce and manufacture the KN95 masks, and are currently distributing those to some large customers. And in the same manner, Mr. Hightower's company has been licensed to distribute the, I want to make sure I get this right, Steve, the Medicide COVID-19 neutralizing spray. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. You know, in times like these, we have to be agile and flexible, and definitely the companies represented today have stepped up to the plate. And so in the manner of which today's presentation is going to go, we're going to have our first presentation by Maya. And then following her, we will have a presentation by Omar. And then last and certainly not least, we will have a presentation done by Mr. Steve Hightower. For those of you who have questions or comments, please enter them into the chat space here in Zoom. And then after all the presentations, I will make sure that I field those questions to our presenters appropriately. And then right before we go into questions, we will also have a brief update by Michelle Parker, who is the Corporate Service Manager for the Great Lakes Women's Business Council. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Maya. And you are unmuted. The only ones that are unmuted at this time are presenters. Everyone else is muted.
Thank you, Tammy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So a couple of disclaimers. I have 2 dogs that may start barking at any time, so I apologize in advance. I also have a 3-year-old niece who's running around on a scooter upstairs, so I apologize ahead of time. And sometimes I have a bad internet connection. I'm sure this is a common problem for all of us now working from home. So I apologize for that. If my presentation, Tammy, gets disconnected for some reason, I'll be more than happy to share the PowerPoint presentation with the attendees today. So good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here with us today. I think these are very interesting times, to say the least, and just to see everybody's face, or some faces, and how many businesses and business owners are interested in this is really, really encouraging. So as Tammy said, my name is Maya Siprashvili. You don't have to pronounce my last name. You were pretty close, Tammy. So you sit, you rush, you go to the village, but just Maya's fine. I am the Deputy Commissioner of the Division of Supplier Diversity with the State of Indiana Department of Administration, and I have a little presentation for you. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and hopefully we'll get the presentation going. While I'm doing that, I do want to take a chance and thank our long-term partner, Tammi who has been, like she said, not just a friend, but also a wonderful person to go to person, especially for the Northwest Indiana region. As a matter of fact, we are supposed to be there today having our first business conference, opening up our business conference season for the state of Indiana. But unfortunately, due to COVID, we are not able to be there. However, I am able to be with you, and I know that some of my team members are also here. So we'll be more than happy to answer your questions should you have any. I would be remiss if I didn't start out with the Division of Supplier Diversity, who we are, and just a general program overview. I'm positive that some of you are already certified with us, but just in case you are not, or you have let your certification lapse, this would be a good refresher to let you know who we are and what we do and how we help our minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses. I always start starting out with the laws and the creation of the program, because I think it is important that we don't exist just because we want to. We exist because the law requires us to. So Indiana Code 4-13-16.5 defines really the role, the commission's role, Governor's Commission on what used to be minority and women business enterprises. But recently that name changed and the bill will be signed soon. And now it's called Governor's Commission on Supplier Diversity, because in addition to minority and women businesses, we have added veteran-owned small businesses, and I will talk about it a little bit later. The regulations for minority and women business enterprises, it's 25 Indiana Administrative Code that basically defined the functional necessity for our division. And we used to be Minority and Women Business Enterprises Division, but after adding Indiana Veteran-Owned Small Business, that's what IVOSB stands for, to our division and to our program in 2018, we are officially now Division of Supplier Diversity. So just some laws and regulations. I'm not going to go through them. I just wanted to let you know that we are legal and we're operating under law. Our mission with the state of Indiana is to make sure that we promote contracting opportunities for minority, women, and veteran-owned small businesses. Obviously, we are charged with certification, contract compliance, and also making sure that we provide equal opportunity for all three types of businesses. These are our current participation goals. Every 5 years, state of Indiana has a disparity study. In fact, we're in the middle of it right now. Disparity study 2020 will be or should be finished by December 31st, 2020. And that will review the data from 2013 to 18. And we have a live webinar on disparity study updates and how coronavirus has affected the process. And I would encourage you to all to just attend our webinar on April 30th. You will see all the information on our website. So Tammy, I know you always do a great job in promoting our events. If you don't mind, as soon as our flyers up, there are many calls and many inquiries from the businesses what is happening to disparity studies. So that would be a wonderful place to start from and get all your questions answered. Hopefully, I will be facilitating, and I will have a representative from the consultant company that we have hired, and also the members of the Governor's Commission on Supplier Diversity. If you needed to know, and I know I have 10 minutes, so I apologize if I'm going through it very quickly. This is the org chart, the Commissioner of Indiana Department of Administration, and then you see the division, wonderful, great team of the Division of Supplier Diversity who work tirelessly every day to make things happen for our diverse businesses. We have three main functions. One is our primary function is certification of minority, women, and veteran-owned small business. Our second function is business outreach, which is basically what I'm doing right now, and then contract compliance, and I will talk briefly about each and every one of them. We always get asked questions like, why should I certify? Why should I get certification from the state of Indiana and why should I go through all this paperwork, and what's in it for me? Well, there are many things in it for you, and not just because I have to advocate the program, but I have to tell you that there's just wealth of information that we provide and push out every day to our small business owners, especially our certified businesses, but also anyone and anybody who will sign up for Division of Supply Diversity or IDOA subscription and subscribes there. You will get the most updated contracting opportunities, the information about outreach, what's out there, information about our stakeholders. So everything and anything that is going on in the supplier diversity or small business world, you will hear about that. Tammy, I did have a few slides about the qualification and requirements, but I took them out just to save the time. But I do want to let everyone know that in order to be qualified for our program, one has to be a minority, woman, or a veteran-owned business, and has to own at least 51% of the company and has to be involved in a day-to-day operation of the company in order for us to determine that they not just own it, but they also control it. We also get questions about what happens when I submit the application. So this is just a little demonstration for you. Once it's submitted, we will acknowledge it and we will review, and hopefully we'll make the positive recommendation. The certification team is 4 persons strong, and every day, even throughout this time, they are trying to work tirelessly. We did have to halt a little bit the new and recertification applications because we still have paper application process. We are working on the electronic certification, but as of now, we are still paper. So throughout March 23rd until April 20th, we were not accepting new applications, but please note and please share the information that Division of Supply Diversity has resumed accepting new and research applications, and you shouldn't have any problems. Also, as soon as we found out that this was happening, we gave 60-day automatic recertification, basically automatic, they were resumed, their certification didn't stop being, I forget the word, being active. So they're the ones whose certification expired in March 31st, April 30th, and May 31st, their applications are still valid for 60 more days, regardless if you have submitted the recertification application or not. Beyond May 31st, we will take a look and we will talk about it. Please let us know if you have any immediate need to recertify with us. But as of now, if your certification expired in March, April, or end of May, you're still valid for 60 more days. Our second function is business outreach. I kind of talked about it a little bit. And again, this is when we participate in events like this. We are either a partner or we're the ones who organize and hold these business conferences or certification webinars or pay audit webinars. Our outreach team is busier now than ever because everybody wants to have us on the panel, and there are just so much information that we want to share and we need to share. And this is really done by business outreach team of the Division of Supply Diversity. I have a little information for you, that outreach schedule at a glance. We did have, every year we have outreach strategy, business development and outreach strategy. Obviously in 2020, that outreach strategy was revised quite a bit. So instead of having in-person business conferences, we will have virtual conferences, and starting from May, the first week of May, every week we will have somebody on the panel like we would at a regular business conference. But of course, we will try to invite the panelists and the speakers who have a little bit more information about COVID-19 and what's happening with small businesses and diverse businesses. Our function number 3 is contract compliance. Contract compliance is when it happens when a minority woman or a veteran-owned business is on a state contract and there is some kind of issue or misunderstanding with the primary contractor, Division of Supply Diversity gets involved. We are kind of like a big brother and act as a liaison, although we are not a party of the or a signatory party of the contract, we do represent our minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses on state contracts, and we do vouch for them. Now, primary contractors cannot replace or reduce or remove a subcontractor without us saying so. So they need to notify the Division of Supply Diversity, and if you are a subcontractor on a state contract, if you're a minority, woman, and veteran-owned business, and for some reason you're not getting paid, you're not being on a contract, you're being utilized on a contract, or there's just some misunderstanding between you and the primary contractor, you should contact us. And this is the these are the steps that take place. When that happens, either a primary contractor or a state agency lets us know, then we verify information. What that means is we check information with both sides, whether it's the prime contractor and the subcontractor, then we either approve or reject the request to change, increase, decrease, remove a subcontractor, and then we notify everyone. So this is, I know this is a lot of information. I just wanted to let you know that we don't only certify, but we also do contract compliance. And this is, these are some of the links that I've included, something that we all monitor probably, and these are the links that I've already pulled up. The first link is the subcontracting opportunities. Can you see my screen with the internet, or is it still on the PowerPoint?
We can still see your notes, but it's on the PowerPoint.
Okay, so let me change the screen though. The helpful
resources.
Yes, on the helpful resources, if you click on the first link, if you click on this first link, it will take you to the website where you will see the subcontracting opportunities and contracting opportunities the state of Indiana has, and not just state of Indiana, but anybody and everybody who has an active contract. I wanted to let you know that state of Indiana has stopped some procurements and procuring goods and services for 2 weeks, but that was only 2 weeks, and we have resumed. So they are full speed ahead. There's still contracts being awarded. There's still bids going out, especially in the Indiana Department of Transportation. So please don't think that there are no contracting opportunities if you still want to participate on state contracts. The second one is procurement contract opportunities, and really what it is the IDOA, or the state of Indiana only agencies, where this link will take you directly to that page where you will see what requests for proposals, requests for quotations, or requests for information are out there in the street, so you can participate as a primary contractor if you can, and of course as a subcontractor. And the SBA COVID-19, I'm sure all of you know this, but I still wanted to put in there and reiterate the importance of following this page, SBA coronavirus. I actually, before coming here, Tammy, I spoke with the regional SBA representative, and even he said that sometimes they are not even aware of the updates, but the website is already updated. So I just cannot reiterate the importance of following them and making sure that you get all the information from there. And if there are any other questions about the SBA content, there is some other information that I can share as well. And if you've had any questions or have any questions for us, here's the list of our team of managers, basically myself, Keisha Rich, who is our Deputy Director of Contract Compliance, Ross Adams, who is our Deputy Director of Certification, and then Dr. Vonda Brooks, who is our Deputy Director of Business Development and Outreach. And with that, I will shut up now and let you go on, Tammy. So thank you very much. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Well, thank you very much, Maya. I really do appreciate you. We're going to move forward with a presentation by Omar, who is the founder and owner of Smart Power Technology. And again, we'll field the questions after each presentation. And we will, there were a couple of questions as to whether or not we will circulate your presentation, Maya. And so we can make that available as a follow-up. So with that, Omar, I will turn it over to you. I know he's there. Omar, you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
It's
All
like
right.
that commercial. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, exactly. All right, let me see if I can do a share screen myself here. Let's see.
So far, so good.
All right.
Perfect.
Does that work?
We see your wonderful photo in that electric blue suit.
Okay, perfect. All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Buenos dias. Thank you, Tammy, for the invitation and for the opportunity to be a part of the webinar series. My name is Omar Casillas, and I am the founder of Smart Power Technology. And we are a commercial and industrial LED lighting distributor and project management company. We've been established since 2017. We are also a trade ally for electrical utility companies, such as IPL here in Indianapolis, Duke Energy, Indiana Michigan Power, and NIPSCO, just to name a few. And as a trade ally, we're able to utilize the utility company's rebate program and help our customers offset their total lighting project cost by up to 50%. So if you're thinking about switching over to LED lights, make sure you do two things. First, call me. No, but second, look into your utility company and do some research on the rebate program, and you'll be surprised that there's a lot of opportunities to get money back for your lighting project. And just so that everybody knows, the rebate programs don't only cover lighting, but they also cover HVAC units, kitchen equipment, occupancy sensors, and a lot of other things. So with LEDs, we offer a variety also for indoor and outdoor. We have LED high base, LED street lights, LED 2x4 panels, ceiling lights, can lights. We even offer solar powered street lights as well. And now we're featuring KN95 masks. So how do we go from an LED lighting company to KN95 masks, right? This year so far started off good. I had a few LED lighting conferences scheduled for this year, as well as a trip to China later in July. But I had been aware of the coronavirus situation in China through the news and also from my LED manufacturers that are there. My first LED conference was scheduled in mid-February, and by this time I had learned that my LED manufacturers were not going to be able to attend due to China not allowing anybody outside the country. And this is when my business first felt the effects of the coronavirus. I did attend the conference in San Diego, but it was a complete ghost town. There were very few LED manufacturers, and that's when I realized that it was serious. And later in the month, the US began canceling public events and would be on quarantine shortly after that. At this point, I guess we found ourselves in a situation where we didn't know if we could continue to operate, how safe it would be, and how long the quarantine was going to last. By this point, the coronavirus was a global pandemic, and my LED manufacturer had to pivot themselves and partner with a company in China that produces PPE supplies, and in particular, the KN95 mask. By now, the CDC had allowed the use of KN95 masks due to the scarcity of N95 masks here in the US. So we decided to pivot ourselves and do what we needed to do to continue business, but also be of assistance to essential companies that were putting their teams on the front line. So we began importing KN95 masks into the US. And so far, I'm glad to say that we've been able to help companies such as Aqua America, AOC Resins, and we're currently speaking with Carrier to see if we can assist them with their KN95 mask needs. And that's kind of how we went from an LED company to featuring a PPE product. And it actually has helped us during this uncertain times. But we do look forward to going back to normalcy here soon. We're still performing LED lighting projects as well as supplying KN95 masks to other essential businesses. So if you're an essential business and are looking for KN95 mask or looking to upgrade to LED lighting, you can feel free to contact us. And I think we have our contact information there. You can also go to our website and you can schedule an appointment. You can schedule a Zoom meeting. You can also request for a quote there. And either I or someone in my team will get back to you and see how we can assist you. And with that, I'll pass it on to Mr. Hightower. I hope I wasn't too fast with my information.
No, you're fine, Omar. We'll field any questions at the end of our presentations, but
Great.
that's a good overview. So if people wanted additional detail, then we'll do that after the last presentation.
Perfect.
So now just go under stop sharing screen so we can turn it over to Mr. Hightower. Fantastic. All right, thank you. So without further ado, we will ask Mr. Steve Hightower to begin his presentation with Hightower's Petroleum. Steve? All right, let's see. Hold on, if you can hear me. We can't hear you, Steve, just quite yet. You have to love technology, but then sometimes, I don't know, he sounds like he's stuck. Steve, for some reason, we can't hear you. And it's unmuted, so everyone give us 1 second here, because it's not even allowing me to unmute.
Are you okay now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Now
great.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
All right.
And with that, can you see my screen?
We can see you, but not your screen.
Okay. Better do this again.
Okay, no worries.
All right.
Okay, we are there.
Looks like we're about there. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see if I get the full screen. And if you could unmute Chip O'Donnell. because in my last two screens, I want to yield it to my engineer to just make a couple comments.
All right.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak before you guys today. High Towers Petroleum Company, as many of you may know, we are a national and international supplier for gasoline and diesel fuel. And as a result, we are an essential business. And for that reason, we do have a skeleton crew inside, but our other 40 employees are working remotely. So it's quite interesting, but something that is a new normal that we've been able to manage. And we, again, appreciate the opportunity to have this particular conference. Having been in business as a family since 1956, and I'm starting the petroleum industry in 1981, to get to a point where we are at a stage that is totally something that we've never seen before or never thought that we would get to, where many of our customers have begun to slow down, stop completely, like the GMs, the Nissans, and the Ford Motor Companies and Hondas. They all business just stopped. So the fact that we have a couple hundred customers continue to allow us to have a base, but yet at the same time, it is still very, very concerning and something that we have to watch very, very carefully as we move forward. In that same vein, what we did very similarly is by accident trying to help our community get involved with those types of products that the COVID-19 presented, and found ourselves kind of getting wound up into it and kind of took it a little bit further than we really thought that we would. So I'll start out by presenting Meticide, which my background as a child, I grew up in the janitorial business, in the cleaning business. So for probably from 1956 to when I sold it in 1981, that's what I actually grew up doing, was the cleaning business. So when I saw this product called Meticide, it was a really interesting observation based off of the fact that I know people utilizing germicides and disinfectants or wiping down, if they got anybody in the rooms with them, constantly wiping. And it's a continuous operation, particularly when you've got people in groups, in cafeterias, or anywhere that the public or multiple people touch surfaces. So this product called Meticide, one of the things that the uniquenesses of it is it kills coronavirus for 28 days after the application has been put on a surface. It can be applied on all surfaces: clothing, uniforms, textiles, furniture, indoor and outdoor, and even more. It's safe for human exposure, not to consume by drinking, but by touch, children, pets, and animals. And 1 gallon can cover up to 10,000 square feet, depending on the application. And it can be used for governments, institutional, military, commercial, and even prisons. Who's behind Meticide? Once I began to understand and know about the product, I had to begin to figure out, is this just another snake oil salesman, or, just what is this particular product that makes it so unique? And so I dug in, and I found out that it was developed by a doctor, Jeff Williams, who is a microbiologist and had been in the infection disease community for quite some time. He served as the board of counselors to the US NIH Institute of Allergies. He's a frequent consultant to the World Health Organization in Geneva. The patent for Meticide is owned by Oxyside LLC, where Dr. Williams and his team of chemists developed this product, and Metatech Corporation is the company that owns Meticide. So when you look at the typical products that's used in disinfectants, it's bleach, chlorine type products. And this graph shows you that if you put on chlorine bleach as an example versus Meticide in the blue, for the first 15 minutes, you'll find that the product works pretty much equally as well for the first 5 minutes. After about 15 minutes, the chlorine bleach dissipates, and so does many other or most disinfectants that you would use, Lysol, Pine Sol, or whatever it might be, is going to disinfect in probably about 15 minutes. Then that's why you see the constant wiping of doors, windows, and other things where multiple people would congregate and or touch for whatever reason, doorknobs, handles, that type of thing. But then after 30 minutes, you can see that the Meticide continues not just 30 minutes, 24 hours, 7 days, but up to 28 days. Now, if you think about what that could mean in certain public facilities, let's just say in nursing homes or in prisons, or even in a wastewater treatment plant facility where you have multiple people touching the same. Can you see our?
Right. So I sent a private message. The PowerPoint is not presenting in presentation mode.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me, and I don't do that. Can you see it now?
That looks like it's showing slide 4.
That is correct. Okay. And that's,
Okay.
that's where, okay, and I apologize. It's like I can see it, but I'm glad I got my IT guy sitting next to me to help me out.
Okay.
So, so this particular graph shows again the chlorine bleach versus the Meticide and its performance time frames. And as again, the red would be the chlorine. As you can see, probably after about 15 minutes, it's only about 10% of the actual product that's within it that would kill staph or any other types of chemical or virus such that we're dealing with, is really just pretty much gone after about 15 minutes. As you can see, moving forward all the way up to 28 days, the Meticide maintains its effectiveness. Then, so similarly to, you know, when you kind of spray it on a mask or something of that nature, where a mask may not necessarily automatically kill the various types of infections, you know, that is probably affected by temperature and humidity, organic deposits such as putnam, feces, and sunlight exposure, those types of things. You will find that this particular product actually continues over, again, all the way up through 28 days effectiveness on those types of soft surfaces as well as hard surfaces, but it actually kills any type of, you know, virus that might, or influenza or other types of previous pandemic products or germs that we've been exposed to in the past. So, you know, the components of Meticide, you know, really, and I having a little trouble the way it is because part of your pictures are over my screen the way it is, so I can't really actually read all of this, but okay, thank you, Jason. The components of Meticide, you know, which is made up of formulas covered by U.S. patents that are not biocidal and do not include any re-registration review, but stabilizers, surface binding agents, and dispersements. And these are commonplace constituents of a consumer product, pose no hazards to either users or waste streams, and include items that are generally regarded as safe by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration as food additives. The Meticide formulations are water-based and easy to apply with traditional equipment and methods, including fogging and spray. fogging is one of the recommended procedures to be used. It is the one that gives you the most square footage and coverage, but it also goes in cracks and crannies. So if you're in an industrial site where if you were trying to use a sprayer, it just a little less effective. If you were in an office and you needed to use a rag, you could do that. But if you came in and fogged, that would give you your most protection and application per square foot, as well as, again, around little nicks, crannies, and corners. And I think a lot about the industrial sites, like a wastewater treatment plant, where you got gauges, you got control rooms. You look at plants like General Motors, where you've got assembly plants, assembly lines, and so now you're just going down and you're fogging that entire area. It could even be utilized in where you have homeless, where a lot of bacteria and germs are accumulated. You physically can fog those areas in which the homeless actually live. So it's got many, many applications, prisons, that, basically keeps that virus from reacting for a period of time much beyond what someone can continue to come behind and try to wipe down the spray. So, there's various substances that comprise meticide that have received prior EPA approval as a part of the formulation, and it is on track probably over the next couple of weeks to have a full EPA approval for the meticide formulation. I would like to now have Chip talk a little bit about another product that I thought that was high HP Energy, which is our energy efficiency company. We chose not to talk about LED lights. We chose not to talk about the mask and other things that we are doing as a response. But Chip, are you able to be unmuted?
Yes, Steve, can you hear me?
I can.
Excellent. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us for the presentation. I'm Chief Operating Officer with Steve of HP Energy, and one of the things we have at HP Energy is we have a strategic relationship as a value-added integrator with Hitachi Vantara. And Hitachi Vantara is part of the Hitachi Global Group of companies that specializes in solutions called Smart Space Solutions, which use video intelligence and computing capacity to help provide solutions for customers. This one that we're presenting today is a thermal camera solution for government buildings, industry, commercial facilities, anywhere that one would like to do thermal scanning of any occupant or participant coming into the building. Thermal scanning is a technology that's been around for a little while. It is commonly used in international airports. If you've ever traveled internationally, they'll have you do a face scan for temperature scanning. That was very common during the Ebola outbreak several years ago, and it's continued today. We see this as a significant advance in solution and help for us as we get back to work, looking at how do we reopen our facilities and quickly scan occupants in a building or in a facility for any sign of fever or elevated body temperatures. So what you see on the screen is kind of a general flow diagram of the solution. There are thermal cameras that can be deployed anywhere within a facility. That could be anything up from a single camera at an entrance to a facility with multiple entrances and multiple locations, including break rooms, et cetera, cafeterias where you'd want to monitor the general health of people. What you see is on the screen, the thermal cameras will show a thermal profile, and that information, one camera or multiple cameras, goes into a video server and then into something that we call the Hitachi Visualization Suite. Think of that as a dashboard to be able to report any type of issues if an occupant to a building or an entrant to the building is exhibiting signs of elevated temperatures, where you might want to take action. Next slide. One of the key things involved in the solution is what's called a human temperature control embedded analytic. And what that basically is it takes the thermal scan and automatically adjusts for ambient conditions and measures body temperature, and it can measure body temperature to a very high degree of precision. When that is the case, what can happen with this Hitachi Vantara solution is, since it's video enabled, not only can we use the thermal cameras to identify a potential occupant with a temperature issue, a fever, etc., elevated body temperature, but then we can also track them through a facility with the use of other cameras, including cameras that a facility already has embedded in its daily operation today. So the thermal cameras help identify issues regarding temperature and fever, and any other cameras within the building can be pulled into the solution to enable tracking of that occupant, so that an occupant can be quickly identified, flagged down in terms of an action that needs to be taken if that person needs to be removed from a facility. We've seen the solution that can be deployed in airports, border controls, as we've talked about before, hospitals and schools, government buildings, office buildings, and industrial facilities. We're very excited about this because this is a way that we can utilize non-invasive technology, very, very quick scanning potential on a real-time basis to be able to help protect our facilities as we go back to work. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to turn it back over to Steve to wrap up. Steve?
Okay. Well, thank you, guys. I'm again would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to bring a couple of unique solutions to the table. Some things that you may or may not have known about that's available to you in the marketplace. One of the things we like to pride ourselves in being a diverse company is that we provide state-of-the-art products as well as services that it basically is best in class throughout the world. And again, any way that we can provide additional information and or product relevance, we'd be happy to do so after this call as well. And we have lots of information on both products that we can share as well. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Tammy.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Steve and Chip, for your presentations. I'm going to ask Michelle Parker with the Great Lakes Women's Business Center to kind of give us a quick update of some of the women-owned businesses that are participating and providing services during this time. And I know that we're getting real close to our 1 hour. And I understand that if those of you who have to move on, but if you can bear with us, we do have a couple of questions, and I think we'll be able to get through those real quickly. I only see 3 questions, so we can move through those relatively quickly. So Michelle?
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Tammy, for this opportunity. And not going to be long at all because I will get to the question that the businesses have, but did want to share that the Great Lakes Women's Business Council is here for small businesses as well. We are an organization that partners with the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, or WBENC, providing women business owners with the national certification here in Indiana as well as in Michigan, and providing services for certification, but also providing networking opportunities during this difficult time and resources to the women business community. And just like Omar and Steve explained, they had to pivot. We are seeing that our women business owners, of course, have to pivot during this time. And one of those companies out of Goshen, Indiana, GDC, is one example of a WBE company pivoting to be able to serve and partner with the automotive industry, GM and Ford, who they are a supplier of, in helping them produce the ventilators and providing GDC shifting to make the filtration media materials for GM and Ford and other WBE companies that are providing solutions for companies that are needing to keep their staff safe by providing PPE products in Indiana, throughout Indiana and Michigan, of course. And we're just another resource hub for the small business community during this time. We partner with Maya and her team as well to support our Indiana WBEs. We have a memorandum of agreement to ensure that our women business owners are getting opportunities all around nationally, locally here with the state, as well as with the city. And so I'll include my information in the chat feature if you're interested in learning more. Thank you, Tammi.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Michelle. So one of the questions that's here for either one of the presenters is for small businesses that would want to utilize your product. Is it available for smaller businesses? Because you presented working with larger corporations, but for small businesses that want to make sure that their areas are sanitized, that the uniforms that workers have to use are sanitized appropriately. How and do you work with smaller businesses? So I guess this is a question for Steve and Omar.
Yeah, definitely small businesses can reach out to me and inquire about masks and any other need that they may have. Absolutely. We're not going to turn any business down. You know, we're just focusing on everybody, and if we can help more people out, we will.
Yeah, as it relates to the meta side, it is sold in 55-gallon drums. The runs are pretty long right now. So there is minimum quantities for, initial orders, just because this is going literally all over the world. They send a lot of it, even to China, in fact, but Switzerland, and so it's a manufactured run, and we do not, sell onesies like a gallon of that size. So it would be something that is available to small businesses, maybe not only for their own use, but they may have customers that we could work something out, and also work with them with their customers that would allow them to also get a revenue share out of what they're able to do with their own customers. As it relates to the camera, it is, if you have a small business, and obviously there's a cost associated with it that may be within your budget or may not, but it is available to you without a doubt. And those are the types of items or obstacles that one would have to be able to deal with. But again, on the meta side, even if you cannot personally maybe use the several 55-gallon drums, your customers can, which as a result then probably be used back at your own offices as well.
Okay, another question. I think this one is for Omar. Are the N95 masks offered only in bulk, or can essential small businesses obtain them in smaller amounts?
It depends on the quantity, but like I said, right now we are going through a lot of the KN95 masks. But like I said, it just all depends on availability really at this moment. But if anybody is asking, please feel free to reach out to me, contact me. We will do as much as we can to help you and assist you with any of your KN95 mask needs.
Yeah, piggybacking on what Omar is saying, this is a very unusual time for that industry, period. And the traditional players, the very large wholesale supply houses, are not even able to keep up with their existing customers that they've been servicing for 10, 20 years. And so what I have found is that, you've got minimums in most cases of 1 million masks, 500,000 bare minimum, and then up from there. And so you really are not seeing a lot of small orders such as give me a box or give me 100 masks, because you really can't order them like that. Okay, so it's not a normal scenario where when you get back to normal, you can come and get a box or you can do those type of things. But the initial orders that one actually have to give, and I know Omar was saying that without saying it, is somewhat significant. It's not, again, now, unless Omar has the inventory and he's selling off some of his inventory that he got for a larger customer, but that's typically the way things are rolling.
All right, this question is for Maya. I know that she had another, but if Maya, are you still on? This is probably a question for you relative to grants that might be available for Indiana-based minority, and Michelle, you might want to chime into this one as well, grants or anything that's available for minority and women-owned businesses specifically here in Indiana.
In general or during COVID-19? Because there's a difference, right? During COVID-19 with SBA Paycheck Protection Program, after 75% of it is spent for the paychecks of the employees, then it becomes a grant. So that is the difference during COVID-19, and in general for the grants, I would, we as IDOA do not have the grants, but I would advise to keep looking at each agency, each announcement that each agency makes on a regular basis and go from there. But as of now, the only things that we know that become a grant, they do not start out as a grant, but become a grant, is the SBA coronavirus help that I'm sure you all heard it was approved yesterday by the House, and it will be distributed for the businesses hopefully sometime very soon.
Anything to add to that, Michelle?
Yes, I agree with Maya with the SBA opportunities, but another one not connected to the COVID-19 that we're aware of from one of our partners is the Federal Home Loan Bank of Indianapolis. They have a grant, Elevate grant for small business, diverse businesses that is actually an annual grant, and they are accepting applications, I believe, through June 1st. And more information can be found on their website. I can try to pull it up and add that to the chat feature as well. But that is an annual grant that they offer. But it's that time of year, so of course, it's a great opportunity. And your business has to be in Indiana or Michigan.
Okay, what I will do also as a follow-up for everyone that registered for this particular webinar, I will share the presentation made by the Indiana Small Business Development Center that we presented a couple of weeks ago. The Legacy Foundation is offering financial resources to businesses. They must be located in Lake County, Indiana. But it also identified additional resources that would be available to you. What recommendations, Steve, Maya, Michelle, or even Omar, would you have for small businesses who have a product or service, but just don't know how to, I'm just trying to get the question right here, how they would approach a new client or government? And this may be where Maya and Michelle can tap into in terms of them offering their product to assist during this supply and demand opportunity with COVID-19. How would one go about navigating that process? Maybe Omar or Steve, you can share your story of how you were able to get such large clients. And then maybe Maya and Michelle give recommendations for businesses who are trying to get in the pipeline for these procurements?
Okay. Well, I would say that this is not a time to retreat. It is a time to be very bullish and to be very aggressive in trying to save your business. And while you may not be able to take personal meetings, you can have meetings like this constantly, touching every customer that we have, touching every supplier that we have, letting them know that we are an essential business and that we are there for them. That's what you have to be able to do to your customers right now as well. And what, then find out what what are some of their issues right now and where you might be able to assist, because there's nothing preventing you from picking up the phone and finding if someone says they need XYZ, for you to go find XYZ if that's what their problem is right now. And again, I wasn't at all looking to get into the mask game.
Right.
We had customers that needed it. I had the ability to reach out to people who were able to get it to me, to be able to get to some of the hospitals here in the region. And that's how I basically accidentally fell into the mask business. It wasn't on purpose, but now once you get caught up into it and your resources begin to come together, then you learn how to be able to get into the supply chain without taking major risk, like sending your money to China or to Mexico into a blind hole, which is something that you may be asked to do. But there's smart ways that you can facilitate the businesses that people need. And right now, like I said, it's not a time to retreat. It's a time to be very aggressive and to work twice as hard, be twice as mentally, what can I do to save my business? Because that is your job as an entrepreneur, president, and CEO, is to save your business.
Anybody else want to chime in? Omar, Maya, or Michelle?
I was just going to say that I completely agree with Steve. I mean, I had to do the same thing. Had to be creative and start thinking about ways to help out my existing customers without being too pushy or too aggressive, but really figuring out a way that I could offer something for them at this time, and also giving them the option that they didn't have to put any money up front at this time, but we would set them up maybe in a possible payment plan or some kind of a structure where they wouldn't have to start paying until 3 months from now. But just like Steve, I found myself in a situation where a lot of my manufacturers from China were offering me masks, offering me PPE supplies, products, goggles, gloves. And this is very, very early in the beginning. I'm talking February, early March. And at the time, I'm an LED company. I wasn't gonna, go outside of my market and try to do something that I had never done before. But as the situation started getting worse, I realized that I had to pivot. And luckily, one of the manufacturers that I do business with and I trust and I personally have vetted came to me with the opportunity about the KN95 mask. And I think like anybody else, just like Steve did, we had to pivot and do what we needed to do during this time just to get by. And especially when at the time, the PPP plan was out of money. And so at this point, I needed to, sink or swim. And, just being creative, following up with customers, reaching out to them, like Steve said, seeing how you can help them with their needs. That's kind of some of the things that we had to do. And, we're still doing right now to continue going forward.
We will share, I'm sorry, before Maya and Michelle chime in, we're going to share the PowerPoint presentations with everyone. And for people that are looking to contact both Steve and Omar for the products that you mentioned, they can follow up with the information provided in your respective PowerPoints, right? Okay. All right, so for those who want to follow up directly with you, you can get the information from there. I will definitely do a reply all for everybody that registered. The video, recording of the video will be made available and it will be shared. Some of our resources and partners have a tendency to place this on their website. and send them out internally as well. So if Maya and Michelle want to address, how do businesses get into the pipeline, right? We know that there's the QPA, there's different departments that are making procurement. How do these businesses get on the radar for some of these procurements?
Yes, I want to point out two things about that question. But as for the PowerPoint, Michelle and who was asking, I think Tammy, I think I already shared it on here in everybody's chat. So all you can do is just hit save as or download, and you will have my presentation. But I will also send it to Tammy just in case. Two things in addition to what Steve and Omar said. I think from a business owner's perspective, it was a wonderful presentation, and mostly what I liked was being creative. And that is really what you need to do. Also, keeping yourself updated and informed about everybody's needs. I think that's the greatest thing. But one, send me your contact information if you are in the business, and we do have a special place that I can put it in pipeline in the with the procurement division, and they already know, and we have received numerous requests for information for masks and for everything else that as you may imagine, the state will need and is in need. So the need is